two, one, two, three, four.
Good morning. I just want to say thank you for everybody that's here and for inviting us. We're a very new organization, so we hope to have more opportunities to talk to everybody in the future, and we're really excited to be here. So thank you. As an American, I knew very little about Turkey before I arrived in Istanbul almost 2 years ago. In advanced European history, we learned about the rise and fall of Constantinople and of Byzantium before that. However, it pretty much ended there, as if this place was just a period in history, an Atlantis of sorts. Once the opportunity arrived for my first summer in Istanbul, I became eager to learn more about this destination modernly unknown. I knew very little about this mythologic modern metropolis, which was consistently the capital of the most powerful empires, spanning time and changing banners as well as religions along the way from the early 300 AD until the Ottoman Empire, out of the remains of which the Republic of Turkey emerged. If, like me, no one had ever told you, you had never learned in a course or read in a book about Mustafa Kemal Atatürk and the sweeping democratic and secular reforms realized by the Turkish Republic during its infancy, and at such a rapid pace, you may find it difficult to believe that this Yeni Türkiye could be the same progressive nation. One can easily observe the remnants of the history of civilizations dating farther back than even the Hittites. What becomes more obstructed and oftentimes more appalling to secularists and free-thinking persons like ourselves is this facade of secularism and democracy, from behind which lurks brazen caliphate-esque Islamic agenda determined to desecrate a word having both religious and secular denotation, the secular and democratic fundaments on which this republic earned its initial and more honorable reputation. Secular and democracy are terms that don't even belong on the same page as caliphate and Islam, specifically because one would need more than one page to contrast them. So let me share with you, on behalf of Atheism Derneği, the Republic of Turkey's first legally recognized atheist association, what secularism really means in Yeni Türkiye. For starters, as of little more than a year ago, Atheism Derneği became the first association of its kind legally in the history of the Turkish Republic. A significant point may as well be that we were legally able to achieve such a status. And on the other hand, a more inquisitive person might ask, why the first in 2014? As a matter of fact, being an atheist in Turkey is not an exactly desirable label. Yes, we few are wearing it proudly, and we refuse to be silenced by the fear and threats. But in a nation where the Prime Minister delivers publicly televised hate speech at public mass rallies, condemning atheists as terrorists, and soon after, in the nation's first ever public presidential elections, this public votes the same Prime Minister into presidential office, it's no wonder that a majority of Turks, when polled, answered, out of all choices given, that an atheist neighbor would be the most undesirable neighbor and unwelcome. Atheists are commonly, openly discriminated against and the subjects of public and private hate speech in Yeni Türkiye. Furthermore, the term atheist is used as a harsh insult, one of the harshest in the country. Therefore, we brave and perhaps slightly more perturbed few sought to take control of the fate of atheism and non-theism into our own hands, with the intention to disassociate atheism from Satanism, terrorism, and the general negative connotation of the term. More constructively, the Association of Atheism strives to enlighten and to acclimate the Turkish society to the individuals, philosophies, morals, and agendas of the non-theist under the controversial heading of atheism. In summary, even the organization of this association, although a victory of sorts for the struggling secular remains of the Turkish Republic, is made bittersweet by the need for such an interference into the booming Islamism that has become synonymous with Yeni Türkiye. Yes, this is 2015. In 1928, secularism was introduced into the Constitution of the Republic of Turkey with the removal of the statement, "Religion of the state is Islam," from the earlier 1924 Constitution. Although the current Constitution of 1982 does not officially recognize or promote religion of state, it is obviously and proudly boasted by members of Turkish government that Turkey is a Muslim nation. In fact, despite the lack of independent religious survey of Turkish religious demographics, it is purported by the Presidency of Religious Affairs, Diyanet, that Turkey's population is more than 99% Muslim. Information compiled through birth records and identification cards that until recently required all citizens to declare their religion. The default religion in Turkey is set to Islam. There is now a new option to leave the space blank. It's possible now to have previously listed religion removed from one's normal ID. However, in one's civil records, this information change does not take place. Therefore, in the Turkish Muslim 99% census, the policy is, when one is born in Turkey, one becomes Muslim unless further action is taken at the time of birth. And once a Muslim, always a Muslim. Due to this little-known fact, 90% of the members of Atheism Derneği are listed as Muslim in government databases. Diyanet was originally intended to manage the overwhelming and diverse Muslim population of Turkey following the end of the Ottoman Empire. It was instituted as an oversight administration of sorts, charged with the monitoring of religious content throughout the nation, and acted as a safeguard against the fueling of fundamentalist Islamic ideals. In Yeni Türkiye, however, Diyanet has transformed into a ministry of propaganda, working in favor of Sunni Islam. The evidence is startling. Just the statistic of 99% Muslim affords Diyanet the range to openly and exclusively advocate for agendas of Sunni Islam and Islamic youth. Statements in accordance with such are frequently heard in the public speech of high-ranking government officials belonging to the AK Party. Diyanet shows no equality towards religious minorities, including sects of Islam other than Sunni. As specified by law, Diyanet serves to execute the works concerning the beliefs, worship, and ethics of Islam. Since the rise of AKP, there has been a dramatic increase in the presence of Imam Hatip religious schools, so much so that graduates of these schools often leave without sufficient standard high school education and are forced to work in trades other than religion due to the overwhelming number of students being enrolled, totaling greater than the need for fresh imams. Recently, pressure and an increase in religious courses at state schools, both compulsory and elective, adds to the issues of Turkish education system, which currently receives less government funding than the Diyanet. And most increases in education budgets are reserved for AKP-favored Imam Hatip schools, religious schools. In the past 10 years, many state schools have even been transitioned into these Imam Hatip schools. Last year, in the same month that England banned creationism being taught in schools as a science, in Yeni Türkiye, there was an addition of creationist materials into science textbooks. In claims to offer Turkish society the convenience to be more devout, mosque construction has increased by 85 times, fully funded and financially sustained by Turkish government through Diyanet. According to Pew's 2009 World Muslim Population Study, Turkish Muslims comprise a meager 4.7% of the world Muslim population. Startlingly, out of the mosques capable of 100 or more capacity, there are roughly 160,000 worldwide, 85,000 reside in Turkey as of 2014. In reaction to a recent call to build mosques on more than 80 Turkish state university campuses, Turkish students have retaliated by audaciously and bravely launching a Change.org signature campaign to build the Jedi Knight Temple on the campus of Dokuz Eylül University in the western province of Izmir. They probably won't get it, but it's cool they tried, right? Due to its secular foundation, the Constitution of the Turkish Republic officially banned the wearing of headscarves for persons in duty in public office. Yeni Türkiye boasts a more conservative society in which wearing of headscarves has increased 25 times. Recently, the previous ban on women wearing headscarves while on duty as civil servants was lifted, and in 2012, a similar ban on wearing headscarves at state universities, which until 1984 was never necessary to enforce this law. Nobody made a deal about wanting to wear a headscarf at state university until 1984. This ban was lifted also in 2012. Major companies discriminately hire covered women, while non-theists stand at high risk to lose jobs and even their lives. Just ask our members how many of them have lost their jobs and been threatened with their lives. Yeni Türkiye pushes for more rigid social standards, but co-ed housing for young people is oftenly discouraged because of this, and public and private alcohol consumption has become more and more restrictive, especially during the month-long Islamic holy period of Ramadan. If you want to drink alcohol, don't come to Turkey during Ramadan. Even government-owned Turkish Airlines has announced alcohol restrictions on their flights. Therefore, alcohol is currently no longer available on domestic Turkish airline flights. Throughout Turkey, citywide alcohol bans are similarly observed. In the healthcare, where government budgeting allocation also falls despairingly short in comparison to that of Diyanet, Yeni Türkiye fails to promote educated family planning, as increased childbirth rates are encouraged by Erdogan himself. Contraceptives are discouraged, and availability of safe abortions is scarce. Due to Erdogan's personal belief that female fertility is subsequently at risk due to the procedure, there has been a decrease in cesarean births throughout the country. Notably, journalism and media, both traditional and social media, are under rigid constrictions, and censorship precautions are put in place, making reliable news virtually impossible in Turkey. Following the now infamous Gezi Park protests of 2013, Turkish government was responsible for the imprisonment of more journalists than anywhere else in the world, including China and Iran. Website blockings have now become as commonplace as alternate side of the street parking rules. Under AKP and Erdogan's leadership, although Islamic-based TV programs dominate the airwaves, censorship on movies, plays, TV shows, and radio has reached a maximum, including the blocking of our website, atheismderneği.org.tr, through a Turkish VPN, along with the laundry list of other secular, free thought, atheist, and left-wing websites, blogs, and social media, and a Turkish court decision. This just happened in March. In 2014, AKP passed a bill that grants the government the right to block internet sites and allows them access to all internet traffic data. A dangerous concept when one considers the present tone of Turkey. All of these changes are imposed in direct correlation to a strict conservative religious value of Erdogan and AKP. One might say these changes being a part of a greater plan to revive the Ottoman era and revitalize and strengthen the root of Islam in Turkish politics is primarily speculative in nature, in which case one might consider the chain of events that have led to this cumulative moment in the desecularization and re-Islamification of Turkey. In 1974, Recep Tayyip Erdogan wrote and directed a play titled Mas Kam Ya, abbreviations for the Turkish words Mason, Communist, Jew, in which these three groups, were represented as evil. By 1976, he was the head of the Beyoğlu youth branch of Islamist National Salvation Party. Less than a decade later, he worked his way to becoming chair of the Istanbul branch of the Islamist Welfare Party. In December 1997, while serving as mayor for Istanbul and a member of the Fundamentalist Welfare Party, Erdogan publicly recited a poem from early 20th century in the city of Siirt, which I'm pronouncing wrong. However, his recitation included verses translated as this: "The mosques are our barracks, the domes our helmets, the minarets our bayonets, and the faithful our soldiers," which are not in the original version of the poem, by the way. Subsequently, the political party was abolished, and Erdogan was sentenced to serve 10 months in prison and a lifetime ban from holding public office. In a twisted turn of events, Erdogan worked to found the Justice and Development Party, AKP. In 2001, after its predecessor, the Virtue Party, was also abolished, having been deemed unconstitutional, to which Erdogan was also a member. In 2002, general elections, the Supreme Election Board of Turkey disregarded votes from Siirt due to voting irregularities. The elections were rescheduled, and in the interim, the law preventing Erdogan from holding public office was changed, allowing Erdogan to run and win the majority for Siirt, after which Abdullah Gül handed his position as prime minister over to Erdogan. Each year, support of AKP continues to grow. Regardless, in 2007, the notoriously Kemalist and secular Turkish military issued an e-memorandum warning the government to keep within the boundaries of secularism when choosing a candidate. Following this warning was the sledgehammer controversy, which resulted in the arrest and imprisonment of numerous high-ranking military generals and officials, most of whom considered themselves secularists. The primary supporting document of which was allegedly written in the year 2003. However, upon further investigation, it was found to have been created on Microsoft Word 2007. In the following year, the Turkish judiciary, Constitutional Court of the Turkish Republic, heard 2 cases in favor of abolishing AKP and banning 71 senior members from politics for 5 years. This didn't happen. In 2014, support of ISIS caused Turkey a loss in a seat at the UN Security Council. And in the same year, in blatant degradation of government protected forest in Ankara, an illegal and obscenely decadent Aksaray was constructed, originally intended to be the home of the Turkish Prime Minister. However, it is now reserved as the presidential palace. After being elected president in the nation's first public elections, Erdogan has openly announced his unwillingness and utter disregard to the traditional role of the Turkish Republic's head of state, under oath to remain independent of partisan politics. Erdogan has gone even a step further, calling to action 400 MPs in the upcoming general elections to push constitutional changes that would establish a presidential system affording Erdogan more political power and reach. And it is a plan only endorsed by AKP. One can only assume that aside from the constant voting corruption of AKP, Erdogan's attractiveness to most Turkish voters has to do with the fact that he came from humble beginnings, working odd jobs even as a child to help his family, and that he is a self-made man. Also keep in mind, the vast majority of Turkey's population are uneducated and religiously devout, making Erdogan's simple conservative and religious agenda a desirable way to cope with poverty. To these Turks, the most valuable ideal is Islamic living, and Erdogan and AKP promise to deliver such. To this point, being the first Turkish atheist association, legally recognized as such, we haven't had really any options or possibility to interfere with Turkish politics. But our hope is to change that for the future by continuing to grow our numbers and support and making our voices heard, not just in Turkey, but international. So for your interest in our association and the problems we are facing in Turkey, you have our sincerest gratitude. Artık yalnız değiliz. We are no longer alone. Very quickly, I just want to tell you what you're seeing here. So this bottom photo is Ataturk Forest. It was created by Ataturk as a zoo and forest. All of these trees were built as kind of bringing society together in the new Turkish Republic. They planted these trees, and the goal was that they would grow with the Turkish society. This is what stands there now, the presidential palace of Erdogan. Another picture in his caliphate state. Social media is having a great time with Erdogan. I can't be too bad here. I have to behave myself, but I think it's pretty safe to show this because it's obvious this is what's happening. This is Ataturk and his family in 1923, and Erdogan and his in 2012. More photos of the 20s and 30s in Turkey. Anybody who's been to Istanbul knows you wouldn't see such a thing today. Do I have to say anything? I think it's pretty explanatory, right? This is really accurate of the tone of Turkey. And Istanbul is a more open and liberal environment than many other places in the country. This is the graduating class of Üsküdar in 1938. The picture is really bad quality, I apologize for that. But notice not one girl in this class has a headscarf. Üsküdar today is known for its many mosques and extremely religious conservativeness. These are images from Gezi Park. The police are said to be basically the puppets of Erdogan. So you can see the tone of the government and the police force towards the citizens that believe in secularity and democracy and want their voices to be heard, like us. The Deputy Prime Minister Bülent last year said that women shouldn't laugh in public. So Turkish women got on social media and posted pictures everywhere of themselves laughing and smiling. That's Tayyip, by the way. That's it. Thank you, by the way.
Hi, my name is Stefan Söhnle. Thank you for your talk. My question is, even though you said 99% of Turks are officially recognized as Muslim. Do you have any polls of how many of them actually are Muslim?
Great question. One of the goals of our organization, and keep in mind we're only just 1 year old, and our funding is extremely limited due to the tone of the country. So we work on as volunteers, all of us. Nobody gets paid, and our membership fees, which are very small, 10 lira a month and for students and 20 lira a month for normal citizens, are keeping our doors open and us functioning. But one thing we would love to do is get an independent company like Pew interested in doing such a study of the religious demographics of the country, and not just to know how many people are Muslim and how many are not, but how many people are Muslim, to what degree they consider themselves religious, to what sects of Islam they affiliate, and among the religious minorities and non-religious population, what they affiliate with as well. So hopefully we can compile such information in the future and have that answer for you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm very interested in the course of Turkey over the last 10 years, and I consider the development very, very dangerous. And I have a couple of, one major question actually, but I need 2 minutes to explain that question. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's fine with me. I'm not organizing, so I don't know what the time frame is.
Yeah, no, just I'm trying to make it short. The main question
3 minutes.
is,
So yeah.
Yeah, the main question is, why do you think this development takes place in Turkey? I'm asking this question because the rise of fundamentalism and Islamic fundamentalism, especially, is usually pointed out in the West due to interventions of the West in Arabic nations and stuff like that. This is the most people say the fundamentalists in Islamic countries are on the rise because the West intervenes and leads wars and stuff like that. I don't believe that the West ever fought a war in Turkey over the last 50 years. So what's the reason? What's the reason for the rise of fundamentalism in Turkey? You claimed poverty as one reason. Poverty in Turkey is a constant. Hasn't changed over the last 70, 100 years. It even got better. So what's the reason for this? Yeah.
Okay, before I answer that question, I just want to say I'm going to answer this question as a person, my personal opinion. So this might not reflect the official view of our association. Now that I've said that, I will answer. My personal belief is that poverty is just one of the tools they use to further this agenda. My other belief is that claiming the West and their wars is just another excuse that's used. I don't think it has any impact at all. What I do personally believe from the things I've experienced and from my own interpretation of Islam and the Quran is that this Islamic mentality is a mentality in which, by any means necessary to be a good Muslim, you must do everything in your power to convert the entire world to Islam and Sharia law. And through many means, the Quran gives you ways that you can do this, one of which being taqiyya, a word meaning that a Muslim may lie to his enemy and make him feel as if he's his friend in order to achieve the goal of pushing forward Islam and its agenda. So I believe that especially in Turkey, even these European Union delegation situation, I don't believe that AKP has any intention or want to join European Union. I think their point is to go through the process in order to arm the Turkish youth with a more of a reason, because of their now wounded pride for being snubbed and everything's taking so long, to be angry at the West. Like, they don't have enough reasons, they're just adding one more reason so that they can further this fueling of Islamic fundamentalism. And once they are snubbed by European Union completely, which we don't know what's going to happen, but if the changes are not made that are requested, it's a good possibility that that's what will happen. It gives Turkey the option to join the Islamic Union with great reason and support by Turkish youth and citizens. Because, hey, those West didn't want us in their club. So let's join the people that do want us, that think like that, us, that value the same thing as us. And the rest of the world needs to wake up to that. Because Turkey is the only thing holding Europe and United States away from the rest of the Islamic world. And it's scary.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I beg to disagree. Yes.
Please.
Yes, I think that Turkey is playing politics. Okay? Turkey wants to be the Islamic police of the world. Turkey also wants to be the Islamic police within the European Union. They want to have it both ways. The OIC, who is at the forefront of the OIC? I guess the former president or the current, I don't know what they have. Is it president there or what?
President.
Yeah, from Turkey.
Yes.
Yes. And
Turkey is founding members.
yeah, good. So how can you be a founding member there and you're telling me they want to also get into the West? They want to come in there with their Islamic credentials and become the country that tells EU, sets the policy, Islamic policy for the for European Union. That's what they want. They want it both ways. So, and will they have it? It's there for the European Union to decide. So I think that that's what they're trying to do. And Turkey is also, pushing a lot of Islamic agenda in Africa. Okay? So I don't think that, if they're snubbed, maybe it could. Yes, it could, Beth. If you don't snub them, you bring them in. And they keep funding the Islamist agenda within the EU and Islamization of Europe. So is that what you're saying? Do you think that the European Union and the Turkish Jews will be contented with that?
No, I don't think. I think it's going to be interesting to watch it unfold. I think you bring up a very valid and interesting point, and it's totally possible. But we all have our opinions and ways that we look at it, and it'll be interesting in the future to see how it plays out. But the idea is, no matter which way you look at it, from your perspective or my perspective, we can all agree that I think that it's a very important thing, and we need to pay more attention to it.
Dan Barker, one last question. I admire what you are doing, but how much freedom of speech does your organization have in Turkey?
Well, our website was closed in March due to a forum, correct me if I'm wrong, Zara, a forum on our webpage that asked the question, is Islam peaceful?
I'm going to speak Turkish, I'm sorry, and Arzu is going to translate for me because I don't want to do a mistake. It was writing actually three gods, Musa, Isa, I forgot. Okay, I'm brave. İsa, Muhammed ve diğer peygamberin adını unuttum.
Jesus, Muhammed und Moses.
Jesus, Muhammad and Moses.
Diyorlardı ve birazcık hakarete varan, foruma giren kişiler.
Es gibt Personen, die in das Forum hineinschreiben.
There are people who contribute to the forum, and they spoke of the three prophets.
O vardı ama onda birazcık hakarete varan yerlere de gittiler. Diğeri de İslam barış dini midir soruluyordu. O da gösterdiler zaten.
Dabei haben sie diese drei Personen beleidigt.
And they insulted the three people and then asked whether Islam was a peaceful religion in the first place. So people from the outside made a contribution to the forum.
Böyle bir şey oldu. Bizim şikayetimiz şuydu ki onu biz yazmadık. Foruma giren insanlar yazdı ve onların kendi özgür düşünceleri. Bunun için foruma giriyorlar zaten.
Unsere Erklärung war die, das sind Teilnehmer.
And our explanation was that these are participants, people from the outside, who express their thoughts. It is not something we published on our website.
Giriyorlar fakat biz onların özgürlüklerini kısıtlıyoruz çünkü devlet bizi kısıtlıyor. Sadece forumda bir başkasının yazmış olduğu düşünceden dolayı bütün web sitesi kapandı. Yani sadece forumdaki o tarafı kapatmaları gerekirken bütün web sitesinin hepsini kapattılar bize.
Und sie begnügen sich nicht damit, nur diese Aussagen
And they-
eventuell zu schwärzen, sondern
The government didn't just delete these statements or request from us to delete it, but they closed down the whole website. So this is something the state does, and the state forces us to carry out censorship.
In March, the personal Facebooks of our board members were unaccessible. Yeah, they were hacked. People do all that trolling and they send this is fake, and you can't even log into your own Facebook one day. That happened to me on a visit to States this March when all this happened. And I talked to the board members and they were like, it's happening to all of us. You have to verify your identity with Facebook right now. So, yeah, we don't have that much free speech, but we don't really care. We're not going to stop saying it.
Ja, vielen Dank.
Thank you.